Also, also let's tackle a bit the threshold thing. So at the moment, how I have the threshold, it is kind of, you know, if you relate it to the minimum silence time, like silence frames, I mean, let's say you have 7, like you have 7 frames, and if it is more than 7 frames of silence, you cut it. Now, I can either increase the minimum silence length, okay, or I can decrease the threshold, because by decreasing the threshold, you basically make when you say something, basically, the last piece of voice that is not picked up now, okay? Like I'm talking about, like you can hear it, hear this.
I mean, on top of that, this high speed of
So on top of that, this high speed, it immediately starts, you know. So if I want to maybe signal to the side, like there is a silence, I can either increase the minimal silence length, or I can decrease the threshold. Now, there is a consideration to take into account here, because if you decrease the threshold, you make the phrases more spaced apart. Very exaggerated, but essentially there is no like immediate fast pace speaking. It is more of a, I finish a word totally and then I start the other sentence. That can make sense. The reason that I'm finding myself good, like a good workflow with this like slightly cut at the end, like not even cut a word, like slightly like the last like breaths, you know, of a voice, it is cut out a little bit. The reason I like that is because I can do this. I can move this down, okay, and basically overlap this thing. So basically the last piece of voice kind of overlaps slightly, like from the littlest detail, it can slightly overlap with the next word, which makes it kind of fast-paced, like you hear this.
dopamine. On top of that, this high speed of absorption is preventing your...
This is not very hearable, but it is there, and it's something like very artistic, and that is why I like to have a, not like like the last part a little bit cut out, so I can overlap it. That said, if I wanted to save myself a ton of time, what I could do is decrease the threshold, so I basically allow myself to finish the phrase, and then I cut it, and then like the video is cut. And I can keep the like the minimum silence length as maybe 5 or 7, because like if the ones I considered now, let's say the 10, like the 8 long example, 8 frames long example, if I decrease the threshold, that becomes like a kind of a 6. So the frames kind of varies also depending also on the threshold you set. So yeah, there is something else I wanted to say. So keep that in mind if you want to overlap. Keep the threshold somewhat high, not high, like don't keep it like, but keep it not close to 0. It is already close to 0, it is like 1% already, so I don't know how lower you can go, but just in case, if you want it to be like, finish a sentence and then start the other, and you want to keep the last piece of voice in, I guess you can lower even more the threshold. I'll say though, this is already very low, I think this is great. What should I do? Okay, another flash video for myself, since I'm editing the video and I kind of have all of the insights right now for the automation, you know, for the workflow I had. So I basically discovered, this is a very cool thing by the way, if you render all of the clips so everything is green, and then what you do is like extend, okay, let's say extend the original clip, like this was cut and I extended it after it was rendered. I basically can see in the red spots where the video was cut by, like, automatically cut by the program, by the workflow. So what I can do is go here and examine all of the different variables. For example, I think this was a very short pause that I didn't wanna, you know, delete. So
corn, wheat, and potatoes.
You can see like it doesn't look to be cut. Like I don't want this to be cut.
Such as corn, wheat, and potatoes.
These are normal like spacing, but since I had like a very low margin, I didn't have much. Like I didn't have a minimum length of you know, of minimum silence. This happened. So from here, reading all of this, like this is a big jump. I think I want to remove this, right?
potatoes are disassembled.
I mean, yeah, technically it could go without, but I would still cut this. This is a very large segment, and these, how many frames? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, about 20, okay? So this is a big thing, and by examining all of these things and by looking at also the things I'm editing step by step, I can see like the average, you know, frame I don't want to be deleted. For example, let's see this.
Starchy flowers, protein.
This was not meant to be cut, okay? How many frames? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is just 5, but they also found pauses that were like 7 frames long, and they didn't deserve to be cut. Same with 8. I think 8 went to an upper limit of 8. If there is a pause of like 10 frames, it starts like over 10 frames. It starts to get a little bit to the zone where you want to kind of, yeah, maybe I want to edit like post editing, you know, I want most of the poses that are like 10 frames long to be deleted, and because most of them are, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. Okay, this is the thing, maybe they are not meant to be. So I will go, next time I do this, I wanna go to 7, or at least like not 7, like not even 7, like a 9. Okay, 9. Let's go to extremes. Okay, I'll do 10 or 9, so I can kind of compare the two methods. This is very painstaking. This takes a fuck ton of time to along, you know, because the problem with this is that once you have the cut up clips, to make them longer, so basically to move the whole timeline with the ripple edit tool, it takes too much time because it is so slow. I don't have that great of a CPU. So the thing I would like to do, basically elongate where I think it should be longer and should not be cut. That takes a lot of time. There are like ways around it, like move the whole timeline a bit further, so you have like a small space to work with, and doesn't require much CPU. But again, it's kind of a pain in the ass. It's too much work. I don't want that. So next thing will be what? Next thing I'll do is I will automatically cut the video with a more like with a criteria more than 7 frames, you know, of tolerance, because I don't want 7 frames to be cut if that's in a phrase. That's just like a normal pause where I talk. I don't want that. So the problem is one. Last time I checked and I tried to do this, the video didn't really function. Meaning, yeah, I mean, it just didn't really cut well. It glitched, and it kind of cut at random places. Not good. So I don't know if there is a problem with how I'm using it, or there is a problem with the actual algorithm. I don't fucking know. But maybe it's like was like a coincidence. I don't know. The last time I did it wasn't really working. Okay? It was cutting at random places. It wasn't really coherent. So there is something I have to investigate. Wait a second. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of where I am right now. I am a little bit in doubt. So if I try to set the minimal silence clip to a certain level, and if that is glitching out, just switch it out to the 0. Okay.